Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Scarlet Fu. We're counting you down to the closing bell. And here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with Massar and Jess Menton. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg properties here on a Friday afternoon that's kind of capping what has been a relatively crazy week, Massar.
I need a drink. I don't know about you. I'm exhausted. And, you know, we're not even done.
The weird thing is Carol said that to me at 8 a.m. this morning.
It is Friday, though.
I did not. I was drinking water at 8 a.m. It is Friday, though. Thank you both. It's 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. What is it they say somewhere, right? You know what's crazy is that even after the closing bell, we're going to get more news. An earnings report from Palo Alto Networks. I mean, stock's up, about 1% right now. It's up 50% this year. But ever since they said, right, Jess, that they were going to report after the close on a Friday, it's been trending lower.
It has been. And it's such a rare event to see a company do something like this. It's only happened twice in the last decade. Ryan Vlastelica on our team did a great Tech Watch story about this. But Nike, for instance, was one of those rare companies that did it in 2020. But it wasn't necessarily anything scary that they announced that Friday, but still, this is a really rare event, and so investors focusing on this after the bell on a Friday.
Didn't Berkshire Hathaway do that too for a while?
But they
still do it on Saturdays, but that's been their tradition. And that's because
Warren Buffett gets his own, he's allowed to make
he gets a pass.
He gets a pass on everything, doesn't he? Because it's Warren Buffett. All right, now what?
Can I talk? Oh, I'm sorry. Usually I'm the one to talk over everyone.
I was just going to say.
I mean, when the tables are turned on me, you know I don't like that, Massar. All right, we are getting the closing bells here in New York here. We talk about fifth trading day of the week and, well, what is looking like, at least for the S&P and the NASDAQ, going to be a fourth day of losses here. The Dow Jones Industrial Average just poking into the green as we get to the closing bell. So it's going to finish the day higher by about 35 points or about 0.1%, still below that 35,000 level. The S&P 500, we have to wait for these numbers to settle, but it's right on the dividing line right now between gains and losses. So we're just going to call it unched on the day. 4370, that's the number on the screen right now. The NASDAQ composite lower by 26 points or 0.2% here on the day. And let's take a quick look here at the Russell 2000. The Russell 2000, actually one of the few bright spots on the day, up about 0.5% here on the day, though we should point out all the major indices lower on a weekly basis.
Want to guess what's the best performing name in the S&P 500 this week, anybody?
No. Generac?
No. NVIDIA.
No.
Up another 6%. Go figure.
That makes sense, given that chip makers are the best performers and the only performers for the week, the only one to gain. If you look at what's happened today, it's been all over the place, although energy stocks have been at the top of the pile all day long. Energy stocks moving higher by 0.9%. Food and staples are also another big gainer, up 0.5%, and transportation gaining about 0.4%. The decliners have been very consistent all day long. You had Tesla leading the auto stocks lower, 1.2% drop on the day. Media entertainment, that's Alphabet, and diversified financials losing about 1/3%.
All right, let's get to some of the individual gainers in today's trade. So number one in the S&P 500 is Ross Stores. It's up about 5%. We were breaking their earnings after the closing bell last night. The company reporting second quarter earnings per share, that beat estimates. Analysts loving what they heard. They raised several of them their guidance. They noted that Ross is well positioned in what is a favorable environment for off-price retailers. This stock, though, has been definitely a laggard among some of the retailers. It was also top of the NASDAQ 100. Same thing for AMAT, Applied Materials. We talked about them yesterday, reporting after the closing bell. That stock finishing up with about a 3.7% gain, giving a bullish forecast for the current quarter. So maybe the industry slump that we've seen, maybe that is a thing of the past. That stock has been on quite a tear, up about 40% so far this year. And this one is for Romaine, Bloomin' Brands. Do you like Bloomin' Brands?
Yeah,
you like a Bloomin' onion?
Yeah,
Scarlett,
yeah. What's going on with them?
I prefer fries over onion rings.
Oh,
gosh. Ignore Scarlett for a second. What's going on with Bloomin' Brands? Talk to me about the onion.
Up almost 9%. Rallying today, heavy volume, up the most, I think, about 6 months. Starboard Value reporting a 9.9% holding in the company. 13% of the float is shorted, but nonetheless showing some interest.
I know. I love this story, too, because the first thing I thought about was, remember the old, when they took an interest in Darden, and you had that huge report where they basically said, you need to salt the pasta water before you put the pasta in there at Olive Garden. Anyone?
That gets people reading, at least.
This is why we love you, Romaine. You read into those
I still own that report, by the way. I was going through some old things. And,
Were you really?
It's a memento now.
I never put salt in the pasta water. Do you
What?
put salt? No,
Olive
I don't.
oil.
I thought you were.
Olive oil.
Are you
I don't.
Italian?
Olive oil, yep, so it doesn't
Ooh,
stick,
I do
right?
the olive oil.
Yeah.
Oh.
Except I don't have cooking gas right now. It's a long story, but
All right,
I'm working on it.
Should we get to
What?
decliners?
Where's Jess living? Like in a shanty town or something? What's happening?
Fred's stabilized apartment in New
Oh,
York.
there you
You do
go.
what you can to keep those things, but I'll do
Stabilize. You should be happy. Just have a place. Gas.
Exactly.
Come on.
No complaints here. As far as the losers, unfortunately, of the day. So I know Romaine's probably going to do some sort of
We call
pop
them
quiz for
decliners,
me.
but okay.
Decliners,
Yeah.
decliners. Keysight Technologies, not only the biggest, one of the biggest decliner in the S&P 500 today, but also for the week, because I know Romaine was going to ask me about that, but that's ticker symbol Keys. So down about 13%. So what happened there? Barclays did cut its rating on the stock. Basically is a lack of growth catalyst there. So really seeing that stock pressured. Another one I'm taking a look at, again, with WeWork, ticker symbol We, that's slumping on this plan it has for a 1-to-40 reverse stock
I
split.
love this. You know why I love this, Jess? Because when I saw this, I immediately thought of Carol Massar, who loves her penny stocks. And now she can't report on this anymore because it's not going to be a penny stock when they're done. I think it's still going to be
go.
worth the same amount of money, but, you know, there you go.
Another one I had to point out too, though, is Deere, and obviously this is a company. What that means for the global economy, because it is the world's top agricultural equipment maker. That stock down 5%, so that was its worst day since the beginning of this month. So even though it lifted its financial outlook for the year, investors are wondering whether the industry conditions may be as good as it gets. So you are seeing that stock pressure today.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a quick look at what happened in the yield space here. On a daily basis here, we actually saw yields down across the board here. Remember, it was 6 straight days of sell-off in the Treasury space. You're getting a little bit of a reprieve here on this day. The only real significant move that we saw was on the shorter end of the curve, and that was really only up by a fraction of a point here. The 10-year yield, though, you take a look at the downdraft there, but you have to put it in context of what we've seen over the last 5 weeks or so. 40 basis points over that 5-week stretch, and on the 30-year, 50 basis points over a 4-week stretch. So remember, we used to talk about this a lot. It's not just about the level of yields, but how fast they change. And that can cause, guys, a little bit of agita. Believe it or not, Carol,
What?
did you know that earnings season is still here?
I know it, absolutely. We're going to actually do earnings at the end of our broadcast. We're not done yet.
Well, I'm going to do earnings right now, Carol Massar, because Palo Alto Networks is crossing the wire right now. A rare report here on a Friday afternoon. And let's go straight here to the fiscal fourth quarter numbers here. Their billings in the quarter are rising about 18%. That's relatively in line with expectations. $3.2 billion. The street was looking for 3.17. The company now saying that overall, the EPS coming in at $1.44. Let's get straight to the forecast. For the full fiscal 2024, remember, this is their new fiscal year now, revenue is going to be $8.15 billion to $8.2. The top end of that range is below the average of analyst estimates at about $8.3 billion here. And for billings in the full fiscal year, $10.9 billion, guys, to $11 billion. Once again, a little light here, but nothing really out of whack here, at least not that I'm seeing on the headline numbers.
And I guess that's why you're seeing the stock move higher in after-hours trade. It's up by 4%. It was all over the place in trading today. At one point it was lower, but it did finish higher by 1%. I guess people were expecting the worst, because what company wants to voluntarily announce their earnings on a Friday afternoon after the market closes in the middle of August?
Yeah, I don't get it. What's interesting, too, is, right, we were concerned about a little bit about that first quarter forecast, right, the revenue missing. But I'm looking at their 2024 billings, and they're talking about, what, $10.9 billion to $11 billion. The estimate is $10.77 billion.
That's not bad.
No, exactly. So up another 4%. I mean, this is a stock that's been on a tear, in 2023. And so it looks like it's just continuing to build upon that.
And we'll have to stay tuned to see what exactly they're going to also say on this call, because when Ryan Vlastelica on our equities team talked to Stifel analyst Adam Borg, he said the timing suggests that Palo Alto wanted investors to have the weekend to digest. So it's going to be interesting to see what else they're going to say on this earnings call.
Yeah, I'm going through this release now, and there's really nothing that jumps out at me. I mean, this is pretty much a standard fare here. Most of the numbers either in line or at least within the general orbit of what the street was looking for here. The guidance also. Now, we should point out there aren't a lot of details in this report either here. They don't do a lot of commentary other than sort of the canned quote that we get from the chief executive here. But that earnings call scheduled to start at the bottom of the hour here, 4:30 p.m. New York time. So we'll see if there's anything, any additional information that comes up on that call.
Do you think maybe we're kind of predisposed to looking for something terrible and
Yes.
conspiracies? I mean, maybe someone scheduled it for this day and then they went through with the original schedule.
Well, in a world, an environment where things can surprise us, we talked about that earlier in the 3 o'clock simulcast. Where a company, a certain, a huge miss or something. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm like searching through the press release, and I'm like, what am I missing? What are we missing? So we're a little suspicious here. How did everybody do on the Bloomberg quiz?
Do you take the Bloomberg quiz every day?
Every Thursday.
I didn't take it this time. Well, you must have done well, because this is like the first time you brought it up in weeks. Yeah.
It's exact. I'm looking for Romaine's name. I'm like, because he's always like top 10.
What are you? You're on there? I have to look this up.
I'm number 6.
So I do quiz go on the Bloomberg terminal.
I have never broken the top 10.
You've never broken the top 10?
Kelly Lyons is always in the top 10.
Okay, well, mazel tov to you. That's good. Now, did you do this honestly, or did you cheat?
You can't cheat this. How can you cheat this?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know, Carol.
I'd like
There's your
everybody
name,
to do
Carol
it.
Massar. You're number 6. Number 5 is anonymous.
I know.
That's also Carol.
Right. That's how you cheat.
Sorry, I never do well, so it's like I'm just having a good moment.
I always look, it's for anyone who has never done this, for any Bloomberg
fine.
subscribers. Not only can you see the rankings by, what we do here, but of course the rankings from all the folks at different banks here.
Yeah.
And I think the number 2 people on the quiz, I'm not going to say their names, but they're at Trillium Management. So congratulations to those 2 folks at Trillium who both came in at 1 and 1.
I wish they would do a year-to-date ranking too.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
That'd be good to know.
You speak like a good Bloomberger, Scarlett. Year to date.
Let's slice and dice it. Let's get more data on that.
All right,
That
guys.
first question, though, really threw me off, though.
I don't remember the first question.
Well, I'm looking at it now.
Which one is
it's
it?
It's about where Sam Bankman-Fried is.
You
being
didn't know
held.
that? You didn't do that story? It's like probably among the most read on the Bloomberg.
Gosh, Carol Massar. Goodbye.
Come on,
He
Romaine,
was
get
busy
with it.
reading about 5% more.
All right, guys, we got to
Have
go.
fun on Monday, Carol.
Bye.
Bye. That does it for Beyond the Bell. We'll see you again on Monday, guys.